How's it going, everybody? My name is Cameron White and welcome back to your favorite monthly horoscope. This time for March of 2024, Gemini, Sun, and Rising. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. Let's go ahead and jump right into it because we have a lot to cover this month. There's actually quite a bit happening. First things first, on March 4th, we're going to be having Venus enter Taurus. Now, this is pretty exciting depending on how you look at it for you. One thing is Venus is all about love, romance, indulgence. She wants to connect you to things. She wants you to enjoy the nicer things in life. And as Venus goes into Taurus, she can do, she has all the resources and tools that she needs to do the best job that she can. And as Venus is in Taurus, this is bringing, matters of value into a lens that is more secure, that is more stable. And Venus is really about love at the end of the day, no matter if it's a person, an object, an experience. And as Venus goes into Taurus, it's easier to enjoy these things. It's easier to find these things and find the stability and groundedness in that. But Venus is going to be going into your 12th house. The 12th house is all about, hidden enemies, the subconscious, repressed, unacknowledged parts of yourself, isolation, alienation. And that sounds kind of rough, but Venus and Taurus going through your 12th house might be a time where you find a little bit more enjoyment being alone, being by yourself. Venus and Taurus, you might feel a little bit more grounded and finding, maybe you spend more time by yourself and all of a sudden you find something in your closet that you didn't even know you had that was worth something. That's kind of like Venus and Taurus going through your 12th house. This is going to be a good time to, maybe go away into your own subconscious and go like, hey, what do I value about myself? How do I see myself? And where can I bring out the best parts of myself? This is going to be an exciting time for that. So during March, you do get to experience Venus and Taurus. So just enjoy it while it lasts. But the big thing right after that, on the same day, I should say, on March 4th, we also have Mercury going back into Aquarius, retrogressing, still retrograde. And this is shifting the energy because Mercury's been retrograding in your 10th house of your career for a couple weeks now. As Mercury goes back into Aquarius, it's kind of going back into a little bit of more dignity. Mercury can work a little bit better in Aquarius rather than Pisces. Mercury and Pisces, messages get confusing. They don't really make sense. It can be a lot more imaginative, less descriptive. And as Mercury's retrograded in your 10th house, this has probably caused some miscommunications or some not sure words or not sure directions in your career, in your workplace, or with your boss. As Mercury goes back into Aquarius, this is kind of about logically and, creating a rationale of, okay, what does this mean? How does this make sense? And how do I work through this? Mercury will still be retrograde, so this is still going to be about, kind of rethinking things. But as Mercury goes into your 9th house, this is going to be about going like, hey, what do you know? What do you believe? What do you, understand? And as Mercury goes back into Aquarius in your 9th house, you're going to be kind of looking at this Mercury retrograde situation probably through a lot more philosophical light and kind of seeing what you believe about the whole thing. And the next thing after that is on March 9th, we actually have the full moon in Virgo as Mercury stations direct. This full moon in Virgo is going to be pretty exciting because as you've had the sun transiting Pisces, it's been in your 10th house. The sun is all about, our vibe, what we're kind of doing, what we're feeling. As the sun's been in Pisces, it's been an immutable sign. So we're talking about going through changes. We're going from winter to spring. So there's a bit of a transmutation with our energy there. And as the sun transits your 10th house, this is bringing that to your career. You're probably feeling a little bit more, ready to change your energy there. Not necessarily change your career, but kind of like feel a little bit more yourself as you go and as you're working. I said all that to basically say this full moon in Virgo is about going like, hey, where do you center yourself at? What needs to be addressed in the home life? This full moon in Virgo is about kind of making a checklist, going over your to-do list, making points about what needs to be literally like addressed, and also what seeds need to be planted. Where is it time to start focusing on our ground? And as this happens in your 4th house of your family life, your home life, parents, living situation, where you center yourself, this is going to be a really good time to kind of go in and go like, hey, what do I need? Where do I need more support? Where do I need to be standing? What do I need to do around the house? It could be as easy as going grocery shopping or getting some maintenance stuff to completely cleaning out your place. Venus is in Taurus in your 12th house. This is going to be a good time to be a little bit more isolated and stay at home. You might be enjoying this full moon in Virgo a little bit more if you have a nice little thing to do for yourself during this time that you can do at home at least. But also Mercury stations direct, and this is where those problems or those miscommunications that, you know, happened in that career and in that workplace start to get addressed. And now that Mercury's in Aquarius, we have some rationale, we have some more logic behind this. We can kind of see things and connect the dots of the system of events or the order of events of how things played out. And this is maybe where we could start addressing things. Mercury's in the 9th house. This is kind of about coming from a moral standpoint. This is about coming from or a philosophical standpoint of what do you believe and what does that mean what do you believe and what does that mean for you in terms of what you need to say and what you need to communicate or what you need to express. And then just a few short days after that, on March 16th, Mercury goes back into Pisces, where Mercury goes back into its detriment sign. Again, it's not about being black and white, crystal clear, and detailed when Mercury is in Pisces. It's about leaving room for interpretation, being a little bit more visual, having a more open mind to, and being a little bit more creative with what our ideas are and what is said and what that means. The only problem is that can lead to miscommunications. However, now that Mercury is going direct and back over its shadow, we've learned our lesson and we're kind of, you know, not making assumptions too fast and just making sure we hear everything clearly so we can interpret it clearly and correctly. But as Mercury goes through your 10th house, this is still coming back to issues around your career, your workplace, your boss. So, you know, be sure you're a little bit more clear when you're speaking. You know, try not to just say things off the whim that might be misconstrued to something else, so you don't end up right back where you started. The next thing we have going on after that is on March 20th, we are going to be having the sun enter Aries, and it will be entering your 11th house. Now, this is exciting because, as we said, the sun was in Pisces going from winter to spring. Spring begins, we have the equinox, and the sun likes to be in Aries. It's exalted here. You got to think, you know, days are getting longer, sun's getting brighter and warmer. The sun enjoys that, and the sun really works well in Aries. As this goes into your 11th house, though, of your friendships, community, collective endeavors, this might be where you start feeling a little bit more confident and feeling a little bit more about yourself. You are a Gemini rising, so you do like to be social, and you might find a little bit more power and a little bit more identity with your community, with your groups, with your friends. So as the sun transits Aries and goes through this might be a good time to see your friends a little bit more, have a little bit more identity, and feel strengthened by that. But then the big thing is on March 21st, Saturn enters Aquarius. This is a really big deal because Saturn's going to be in Aquarius for the next few months. It's going to be in Aquarius until July, where it will then retrogress back into Capricorn, and it'll stay there until December. Now, after December, Saturn's going to be in Aquarius for the next 3 years. So this next 3 months, we're really getting a big taste of what the next couple years are going to look like for us, which is really exciting, especially since Saturn's been in Capricorn in your 8th house. Fuck having Saturn go through your 8th house. And just to kind of color that difference a little bit, Saturn has been causing, limitations, restraints, constriction, walls and barriers, or more responsibilities, obligations, and commitments through the 8th house of, the 8th house is literally of debt, of other people's money, fears, going through changes. It's a blinding house where you don't always see what's going on there. It also rules death. It also rules taboo and weird things. And as Saturn's been there, there's been this heavy weight kind of in that area of your 8th house. And that can cause a lot of fears. That can cause a lot of anxieties. The 8th house is about darker and creepier places. So that could be kind of problematic. Now, as that's been in Capricorn, Saturn has been focused on doing things very efficient, very streamlined, very frugally. I think that's a word. But as Saturn kind of leaves that harsh, coldness of Capricorn, it goes into Aquarius where, the difference between Capricorn and Aquarius is Capricorn is kind of corporate minded. What's the cheapest way to do things? What's the most efficient way to do things? How does it cost less? And Mercury and Aquarius is kind of about going hey, what makes the most sense for everybody involved? What has the most rational, what's the most rational thing that we can do that works for everybody? Capricorn is kind of a stuffy office with no windows and no AC. Aquarius is kind of an office designed by Google. It's fun, it's creative, but it's still a working environment. And as Saturn goes into Aquarius, it leaves your 8th house and goes into your 9th house, where the 9th house is all about our philosophy, our beliefs, far distance travel, religion, foreign cultures, publishing, I think I already said higher education, but as Saturn goes into your 9th house, this is bringing, depending on how Saturn works in your chart, whether it's going to be more restricting, constraining, causing more limitations and walls and barriers within that area, or it's going to be a time where you take on more responsibilities, commitments, and have more obligations. And and have more discipline learning this area or experiencing this area. So this is going to be kind of exciting for you guys as Saturn goes through your 9th house. This is going to deal a lot with what you believe, where you're going, you know, what you put out there in the world. And this is going to be teaching you a lot of what to believe. And you're going to be learning so much through this. So this is really exciting. So enjoy Saturn in Aquarius for the next few months while it's there. The next thing that happens on March 22nd is Mars is going to conjoin Pluto. Now you have to remember Mars already left the South Node. It's there with Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn now. And this is kind of a power struggle. I want to make sure you guys knew about this because Mars has been in your 8th house of Capricorn. So depending how Mars works in your chart, you could have been either wanting to pay off debts or you could have been going more into debt. The 8th house also rules like your partner's money. So if you are in a relationship, this could be affecting your partner's money. They could be spending more money or kind of going more into debt on their end. Mars conjoining Pluto is a power struggle where you might see yourself a little bit more exhausted than usual and needing to take a break, or you address some, you know, major heavy issues that have been needing to be addressed there for quite some time. This is a very realistic transit. This is a very, not like, I don't want to say scary, but you know, it's kind of like when you get pulled over by the cops. Like, it's not the best time to like fuck around and think it's like a joke or whatever. Like, take it seriously. Mars conjoining Pluto in the 8th house is probably going to come up pretty prevalent for you guys. So just be aware if you have some obligations, some debts that you need to, that you owe, or maybe you owe some insurance, just be a little bit aware of what can go on there. But then right after that, on the next day, on March 23rd, we have the new moon in Aries. This is exciting because, again, this new moons are all about kind of just balancing out the energy, resetting ourselves, clearing it out, kind of getting level-headed a little bit. And as this is in Aries, you know, Aries is the sign of initiating, of starting things. What are we beginning? How do we identify? What are we creating? And as this happens in your 11th house, maybe you're wanting to have a group project with your friends and create something new. Or maybe you're actually starting to feel a lot better and feeling a lot more identified within your community or within your friends, or you find that community finally. This new moon in Aries is just going to be kind of a good time to see your friends, hang out with your friends, kind of clear up any beef or drama that you might have had with them. This is just mostly a time for friends. It could also deal with career stuff, depending on where your midheaven is at. However, mostly if it is career, it's going to be dealing with colleagues and how you network within your career. But new moon in Aries, it's looking good. But then we end March off with Mars moving into Aquarius now. Mars has been in your 8th house of Capricorn. It's been very much workhorsey and very focused and dedicated and putting in 80-hour days. Mars in Capricorn is kind of like, you know, being the perfect employee. Like, I think of SpongeBob when I think of Mars in Capricorn. Like, just loves to work and just can, you know, do whatever it needs to for as long as it needs to. But as Mars moves into Aquarius, this is where, you know, Mars starts being more different. Mars wants to do what's going to work best for Mars. Again, if Mars is problematic in your chart, this could be, you know, dealing with a little bit more of isolation and alienation, Mars in Aquarius. However, as Mars goes into Aquarius, it's also going to conjoin Saturn. Now, I bring this up because at the end of this year, Jupiter is going to conjoin Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. So something that happens here at the end of March might come up later on this year. I know I'm asking a lot to remember that, but try to remember that. Something might come up at the end of this month that comes up at the very end of this year in a very big way. But as Mars goes into Aquarius, it's about doing things differently, doing things that's going to work best for you. Mars is conjoining Saturn at this time, so this is kind of about being serious and being committed to your energy and what your intentions are. And this is in the 9th house, so if you wanted to start college or school, this is a good time to do it. If you've been wanting to learn something new and, you know, dedicate yourself in a new craft, this is a good time to do it. If you're wanting to get more in religious studies or you know, do more traveling or learn different languages or write a book, this is a great time for all of those things. So with that being said, I know I didn't cover a lot of the stuff that's happening in March. I really wanted to start focusing on the bigger stuff that's happening throughout the months. This is my first time doing monthly horoscopes in 6 months. I know it's been a while. So thank you guys for being here. Please let me know in the comments what you guys think is going to be going on for you. If you have any natal placements that are going to be really affected heavy by these transits, I'd love to know in the comments below. If this is your first time on my channel, thank you guys for checking me out. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys, and I'll be seeing you next month.